Hey, so today's question is rock bottom a grave or a launch pad? It's really our choice. Generally speaking, when you hit rock bottom, you got to sit there for a while. I mean, we don't schedule it, we don't plan it. We typically end up there through a series of events that we didn't anticipate. Something happens that just rocks your world, knocks the foundation right out from under you. So it's like being hit by an emotional train. And if you get hit by a train, you don't just stand up and walk away from it. You got to take a minute to collect yourself. But don't put a mailbox there. That's not your final destination. And it took me a while. Um, and I think because for some of us, I know for me, like my adult life had been like this series of unfortunate events up to that point where after the train rock bottom incident, I was like, huh, maybe this is just as good as it gets. So I settled. I settled for a while. And the longer I stayed in the situation, the more angry I got. And I think all of us at a soul level, we know our value. We know that we deserve better. We know that we want better and that we're capable of it. But sometimes it just, you get so burdened under the day to day, all of the hurt, the pain. And the thing is, the thing that cuts you the deepest can be the thing that drives the momentum behind your greatest healing. And when we look at when something comes into our life that completely cuts us to the core and shakes our foundation and just knocks us down, hi Smokey, that's actually a great opportunity to start over, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Because I know in my situation, all I had left were ashes, and I'm like, wow, okay, what now? And when I finally got pissed off, some shit went down. What's sad though is that I knew that I was a very strong and capable person because in my professional life, I tore it up. I took names, it was bad. It was bad. But you got to think, like, our professional life is a completely different situation than our personal life because we end up operating out of the beliefs and patterns from our childhood. And so many times they're so unhealthy and it becomes our comfort zone. Like when I was 16, I met my high school nightmare. Uh, it was a very low point in my life. But if you wonder about my Sylvester Stallone thing here, it's nerve damage from getting hit in the face so many times. I had a horribly abusive husband. We ended up getting married. And it was just a gradual, because no one enters a relationship going, oh, hey, this guy's a real asshole. I think I ought to marry him. It doesn't start out that way. Narcissists, sociopaths, I mean, look at serial killers. They're charming. So don't be ashamed because they prey on certain personality types, generally very, very loving, very giving, innocent people. And they start off with love bombing, like you're the greatest thing that ever lived and blah, 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 blah. And then slowly, gradually, the negative behavior starts to creep in. And that was what happened in my situation. But there was a turning point that really just drove it downhill. So, anyway, you would have thought that would have been enough because in that scenario, yeah, not only did I get permanent nerve damage, but I had a gun held to my face. It was the only time I was ever really glad that I owned a Chevette because he was trying to run over me with it, and had we had a Camaro, I don't know, it might have turned out a little different. I can only run so fast. But I mean, it's that, like, what started out as something beautiful turns into a nightmare. Well, that really, and it continued. It continued for a while, even after I was able to leave, because they don't just go away, you know. Um, but through that, I, again, I was angry, and I ended up becoming a police officer because I wanted to help other women who were in that same situation. And, so on the outside, you would have thought that I was absolutely strong, I'm not going to take any crap from anybody. And yet, the next relationship was a narcissist with sociopathic tendencies who had a certification in gaslighting. So here I was, I'm holding people's hands and crying with them and helping them get out of abusive situations, and then going home to that. And the reason I'm framing it this way is because we can compartmentalize where one part of our life is very successful and very, outwardly it looks like we've got our shit together. And at the same time, because we haven't healed the wounds underlying the behavior, we continue to repeat the same patterns in our personal life. And the final straw was the 15-year, basically a 15-year mind game with a covert narcissist, because I wasn't familiar with that. I didn't realize that, it's the exact opposite of what I'd come out of. And I thought, oh, look, I finally got something good going here. Yeah. So that's what led me to rock bottom. Yeah, that one. And because a covert narcissist will basically manipulate and guilt trip you into feeling sorry for them while they're hurting you. You feel sorry for them even though they're doing stuff that's hurtful to you. And I ended up staying in that relationship way beyond what I should have for my own health, like literally for my own health. Because when we don't honor ourselves, when we don't put ourselves first and make sure that we get the respect that we deserve in our relationships, in our environment, in our jobs, if we don't have healthy boundaries, at some point your soul is going to understand that it's being insulted and it's going to get really pissed off. And that's what happened to me, thankfully. But just wanted to share, I got my life certification in overcoming trauma before I got my coaching certification. And I wanted to share that if you're in a dark place right now, just know that inside of you there is a beast of strength, of determination. And when you uncover that, you can absolutely napalm the life that has put you in this place and build something so beautiful through the healing process. And even in the darkness, there's a light inside you. And when you tap into that, that will guide you along the path. It's amazing, because as I was going through this process, things would come into my path as like, the right people, the right resources. And just side note, I'm not just throwing out terms like narcissist and sociopath just on a whim. I actually went to college for forensic psychology to understand my relationship past. But then I wanted to, I thought about, like, man, if I had known what I know now when I was 16, 20, 30, but like, how different would my experience have been? And I realize now I'm not upset. I'm actually grateful for the experiences that I've been through, and I'm grateful for that past version of me, because that chick went through some shit to get me where I'm at now. Gotta have nothing but respect for that woman. But it's the life journey that I was meant to lead so that I could help other people learn about these things before they had to spend so many years digging through it and figuring it out. So, anyway, um, I got my coaching certification because I wanted to learn how to present the information to other women. You know, how to go about sharing the techniques and the things that I learned. And then I actually hired two very successful coaches to help me do the coaching program. Because usually you go through a coaching certification and it doesn't really tell you how to make a program or how to deliver the information. So if you'll notice, my desk is looking a whole lot better these days. I've got everything organized and put together now. But um, it's my passion to save other women from going through all of the we've been so programmed and so indoctrinated into these underlying behaviors. And one of the things that has been so helpful for me is music. Like my playlists are actually labeled by emotion. But I'm putting a link in the description box for Whitney Houston's The Greatest Love of All. And that is such an amazing parallel for what I've just described about my life. Because that song came out on, I think it was her first album. And you have this gorgeous woman who is literally a rock star. She has money, fame, adoration, recognition. But she also still had her trauma from her childhood. Because when she met up with Bobby, no matter how many times she had belted out the greatest love of all and inspired women everywhere to be strong, those repeating patterns came back and she turned to drugs to deal with the pain. And the sad thing is, while all of this was happening in her life, her daughter was growing up in it. And if you don't know, they both ended up dying young or younger than they should have for the same reason. So when you take the time, I mean, healing is hard. It's not easy. But living with pain and all of the pent up emotions, that's hard too. Choose your hard. It's kind of where we get the rock bottom can be a launch pad or a grave. You get to choose. Either direction isn't easy, but I can tell you from experience that the outcome of the healing journey is beautiful and it's worth all the effort. And much like the Whitney Houston scenario, where her daughter followed in her footsteps all the way to the grave, when you heal, you break that chain, that generational chain of pain. You break that in your family, in your lineage. And so by you investing the time, the effort, the energy into healing yourself, you heal the generations that come after you. You show them a different and better way to live. And I can't think of any greater gift that you could give to the people you care about than to be the inspiration for them living a better life. So, well, I thank you for joining me today. And like I said, take a minute. It is such a powerful song. It's such a sad outcome. But listen to the song. It's empowering, it's beautiful, and it really speaks to that part of you that knows that inside of you there is so much power, so much strength, and you deserve to live the life that you want.